LATD Nation, what is good? As always, we are back in here with another video coming to you live straight out of Charleston, South Carolina. This is a special one, and we don't even really need to introduce ourselves. Y'all already know the drill. Ding. This is a special one right here.
Indeed.
Probably the most anticipated movie of the spring, maybe of the summer, potentially of the whole year.
Mm-hmm.
Been talked about all online so far. Really been the talk of the town. Sinners. The new movie from Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan. The actor-director duo that just seems to have created gold for the past decade plus, whether you're talking about a Creed, a Black Panther. Well, even before that.
Fruitvale
Station all the way back in 2012.
Great movie, by the way.
When we were in middle school, but I digress. So, really starting with Creed, they just seem like they've been on a string of box office success after box office success. It seems like whenever they come out with a movie, it's become kind of sort of a cultural event. Because, like I said, you had Creed, that kind of started it. Black Panther came out. Everybody knows what kind of a movement that had around it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Wakanda Forever came out, which, I mean, people talked about it, but it wasn't really...
Unpopular opinion, I kind of liked it a tad bit better than the OG Black Panther.
That's a whole different conversation for another day. But... with that being said, Wakanda Forever, and now here we got Sinners.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but basically what it is Michael B. Jordan playing a dual role as twin brothers that are trying to escape their past. They come back home to their hometown, and they try to essentially start over again, but they find a greater evil lurking within their hometown waiting for them. Now, the thing is that, I kind of give the synopsis, but I feel like if you've seen the trailers, unfortunately, you already know what this is. You already know what evil it is. And I hate that because I really feel like they should have kept that under wraps until the movie itself came out. But that has nothing to do with how the actual movie is. So getting into the positives, I'd say the direction is probably the strongest aspect of this movie.
Oh, 100%. One thing about this movie, when you go see it, one, see it in IMAX, first and foremost.
Definitely.
Second, the visuals in this movie are stunning. Like, I felt like I was right in the car with them driving down the road.
Yeah, no, I agree.
The sky was blue. You could see the clouds clearly. Like, everything was bright, positive, sunny. Everything was just super well detailed when it came to the cinematography and everything. And then the performances is what really stole the show for me.
Honestly, yeah. Like, going back to what you said about the cinematography, it's as Chris Stuckman said, just everything about it. The world just feels lived in. It feels authentic for 1932. Where are they at?
Mississippi.
That's what I thought. Yeah, it feels very authentic for the time. It feels very lived in. Feels very swampy. Feels kind of sort of like, it's almost like you can feel like the sweat.
Right, exactly.
Because of how hot it is. It's almost like you can just feel the world. And I think that really is also due to, going to the characters. I feel like these characters, the way that Smoke and Stack, both played by Michael B. Jordan, the way that they kind of interact with these people, they do a good job of convincing us that, this is their home. And they have previous history here outside of what we're just now seeing.
Right. Now, as for the performances, Michael B. Jordan really did steal the show in this one.
100%.
It was to the point to where you couldn't tell that he was playing a dual role. You actually thought he was twins.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, like, just watching this movie, personally, I think this might be one of his stronger performances, if not his strongest, honestly.
I'd say in a popular opinion, I think this performance was better than Killmonger.
I think it might have been,
in my honest opinion.
In terms of just what he's given to work with, because the thing about this movie and the thing about his portrayal, he has to portray, as we said, two twin brothers, and they're different. They have very opposite personalities.
But it's not in like a super goofy way, though.
Yeah, exactly. It feels very natural.
Because Smoke is the more of the stoic, let's get stuff done type of character who's less trusting, while Stack is more the wild, I wouldn't even say wild card. He's more of the more free spirited one out of the two.
Yeah, Stack is more kind of sort of jokey, kind of sort of lighthearted, has more of a sense of humor. Smoke is the one that's very by the book about his business. Let's get this thing done, as you say. And I really like how he was able to portray that so seamlessly, especially when you see it on screen when they're interacting with each other.
Yep.
Like it really, like Michael B. Jordan, I don't know what he really like had to do in order to really embody these roles as well as he did. But I honestly think it's worthy of an Oscar.
Oh, definitely.
I think it's definitely an Oscar worthy, but I don't know, just based on the nature of the business and how horror movies are almost never nominated. You know, horror actors never tend to be nominated in the best actor category.
This should be, in my honest opinion.
I think this should be
because there are multiple actors in here that should get Oscars. Really, best supporting role should go to Miles Catton, who plays Sammy.
Oh yeah, you definitely get to Sammy. Yeah.
Now Miles Catton is his first role
ever.
Yeah.
That's actually crazy.
And he kills it in this one too.
Yeah. So basically, what it is, he plays their cousin that kind of is to help with all the festivities, because what they're doing when they come back, they're opening up a bar, like a local joint. Bar, a juke joint, basically. And Sammy, he is a preacher's son, and he plays music in the church. But his dad, his preacher father, is basically saying that, you know, you need to stick with this. You don't need to be in these kinds of environments doing this kind of thing, because as he even says in the movie, if you keep dancing with the devil, one day he's going to follow you home.
Exactly.
But Sammy's heart is so set on the music and so set on doing what he wants to do. That creates a very interesting dynamic, because you kind of get to see Sammy sort of open up and kind of become more true to himself over the course of the movie. You can tell that Smoke and Stack, he looks up to them and he really wants to kind of gain their approval and be
Stack,
like them.
though.
Definitely.
Yeah, especially Stack though in that regard, because I think his character is inspired by a certain blues guitarist and singer. I forgot his name.
Yeah,
but
I know who you're talking about.
Thank you. So it's like who's quote unquote sells his soul. So and that's when he becomes like one of the best singers and pioneers of blues, blues and guitaring of all time, especially in the black community. So yeah, so I think that was a good inspiration for this character as well. Most you could definitely, if you know the history, then you definitely can see it in the movie when you watch it. So another one was Wumi Mosaku, who plays Annie. That was another good one.
Yeah, for sure.
She's more of like more like the witch doctor type of character, you know, who has all the potions and
kind of
all
odd, kind of strange.
Not really. But she just knows all the lore about the vampires in this movie.
Very much so.
Of all the mystical lore and all the stuff about it. Delroy Lindo does another fantastic job.
No, he low-key had some scenes where he kind of stole the show as far as like the comedic relief.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked his role as Slim. That's an underrated actor. Ever since The Five Bloods, I've been kind of like, you know, kind of watching his career closely, because that's a talented actor right there. But yeah, overall. And then, of course, not to mention Haley Steinfeld. I guess that's the last one we can kind of get to, which, you know, man, somebody check on Shameik Moore. But boy, I know he going through it right now. I think they clowning him right now. I think the release of this movie actually revived the clown show, as far as like him getting dogged on for trying to get with Haley Steinfeld throughout the process of the, I guess you could say, the press run. For Spider-Man, what was that? Across the Spider-Verse?
Yeah, or Beyond
the Spider-Verse, yeah. You know, Shameik, man, please just sit your ass down. Don't say anything. Don't start.
I've always been a fan of Shameik Moore since Dope and that show on Netflix.
Me too.
Called The Get Down, and then here and in Spider-Verse movies.
Of course.
But I'm like, when I heard all that, I'm like, I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm trying to see the video. I'm like, you messing up, homie.
I'm about to say, I had that conversation with y'all a while back. I said something along the lines of, man, I hope Shameik Moore has at least one real friend in his circle to pull him aside, be like, nigga, you wild.
I agree. But back to Haley Steinfeld though, like normally she plays more like the little kiddish roles, like smaller, like younger character roles.
Low-key, yeah, she always kind of been more towards like, not the young side,
but more like that young adult side.
Whether it was Bumblebee or it was even True Grit back in the day. I think that was actually her first film role ever. Like she played like the kid.
Kate Bishop. From Hawkeye, but
then you also
this one. But in this one though, I'm like,
She's more the femme fatale in this.
I'm like, okay, hold up, that's okay.
She had niggas acting a fool.
I'm like, all right, I would have got arrested back in the 30s too then, because I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, she plays kind of against what you expect Haley Steinfeld to be, because like you said, she's always been more so kind of like the kiddish sort of like teeny role. This to me is kind of like her first role in a different kind of sense, and she sells it for real. Like she's really good. She's authentic to everything that's going on. She obviously has personal history with the two brothers, but we're not going to get too into that.
Right.
So yeah, overall world building, I would say set design, cinematography, characters, pitch perfect. Some of the best I've seen just in film, just in general, in a long time.
Yeah,
I really
100%.
took a lot from, like, these characters were actually very memorable. Like, they did a really good job of establishing these characters with their own identity, their own sort of personal goals, their sort of personal sense of self.
Right.
And it was just really great to see, because the first half of the movie is more so them kind of establishing the world, but then towards the middle, that's when all hell kinds of breaks loose, and we won't go too into it.
Right. But with that being said, one thing I will say, I'm glad that everybody loves this movie. I'm glad this movie is getting the love that it's getting.
I completely agree.
But I will say one of the gripes that I had with this movie was, and this is with all of Ryan Coogler's movies for me, as much as I love them, as much as they start out great and they end off great, don't get me wrong, there's always one part of the movie, of the story especially, that never really sat right with me, and that was T'Chaka killing N'Jobu, his brother, in Black Panther. But for this one, it was the weakest part of the film for me, was probably the lack of information on the vampires themselves. You know what I'm saying? Because I won't spoil anything, but they don't really go into much detail on why they're doing what they're doing. Right, exactly. On what? Well,
they just kind of show up. They give you enough of a motivation, but
right.
It's not as emphasized or as explored as it really could have been.
Exactly. But the most you see,
they kind of just show up.
Exactly. The most you see is like Native Americans chasing them.
Yeah,
but we never know why. So
we never know how it got to that.
We know why,
yeah,
but we never know why. Yeah,
we don't know how it got to that point, because one of the vampires just kind of show. Is it Remick?
Remick, yeah, played by Jack O'Connell.
Very well. Also, might I add, he was really good in this movie. But yeah, no, he kind of just shows up, and you know his motivation over time. But it would have been nice if they explored him as a character a little bit more, because I feel like they show up and it ends up becoming more the spectacle of like the army of vampires as opposed to Remick himself. Right. He almost kind of gets lost in his own movement, in his own sauce in a way.
Right, I agree. Another thing too, the trailer really gave a lot away.
Gave way too much away.
Because to be honest, if the trailers didn't give so much away, this would have been really surprising to see.
Exactly. It would have subverted expectations really well, because the movie sets itself up very well for kind of like, I guess you could say a drama sort of.
Yeah, a drama.
A drama, a period drama. But then it takes that 180 very well, might I add.
It definitely does.
It does a really good job of, pivoting left and really buying in with how it shifted. But I do wish that the trailers hadn't revealed so much, because I feel like that would have been even more of a surprise. It probably would have hit even more. It would have been more impactful. But what I will say, not to cut you off,
go ahead.
Another highlight of this movie is definitely the music.
Oh my gosh, and that's another thing.
That might be the biggest highlight, actually.
And it didn't have to be this good.
Facts.
He didn't. That's one thing I love about Ryan Coogler. He does always go above and beyond with his directing, because one scene in here literally, I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, don't spoil it.
But it's a metaphor for partying hard. I'll put it like that. If you see it, then you know.
Oh yeah, if you know, you know. But this scene right here took me by surprise. I didn't expect to see it. Especially, I think the thing about this movie that's so great is how it seems to blend so many different elements and genres and aspects.
It's versatile.
Yeah, it's really, because at one point it can be very funny, but then it can also be very drama fueled. It can be very sort of dark. there's just so much going on. But a lesser filmmaker probably would have buckled under the weight of the ambition. But he really like meets, you know, his standard every single time. He meets the challenge every single time. Like, which it really goes to show you that Coogler really is one of this generation's premier directors for a reason. And this is his first original film. Like, this is his first original. Really? Yeah. This is his first film that's not based on anything in particular. This is his screenplay. This is his vision. This is his genius. So he's really proven himself to be very, very capable.
And I don't want to hear anybody saying, "Oh, this is just an until dusk till dawn." I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear people say that. People are going to say it, but I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, not for sure.
Like, because y'all already know it's inspired by it, and that's what he said himself. But
yeah, definitely.
This movie is definitely unique to his own. And you'll be okay watching this movie.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like, I don't want to hear no type of racist BS behind this. But anyway.
Yeah, but I would say, man, the highs of this movie are so high to the point to where I didn't personally have any real lows. I didn't really have any point where I felt bored or uninterested. This movie kept me hooked the entire way through.
Right.
And that's a very difficult task, especially nowadays with how many movies are coming out and just how much is going on in terms of the film industry. This movie felt special.
Right.
Like, this movie has felt like a moment in time.
I agree. The only, like I said, I just wish I didn't see those trailers.
I agree.
Because I was just anticipating the vampires coming in the whole time.
Literally. That's the only thing.
And that's what made the movie. Now, it's not boring, but that's what made the movie kind of boring to watch.
It made it more predictable than it should have been.
Thank you.
They had such a good turn of heel that they should have just kept under wraps. It should have just stayed. I don't know if they think that, you know, marketing wise, that's why they did that. But
I think that's of course. I think that's exactly why they did that.
But I think Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler have established themselves as big enough names, you know, especially in our community,
right?
That I feel like they probably could have gotten some grace for not advertising it full on as like a vampire movie. They could have gotten away with it, in my opinion.
Yeah, but other than that, that's.
And then I think, not to cut you off, I think word of mouth over time would have really made up for whatever shortcomings, you know, that kind of secrecy would have kept.
Right, because people would have started saying, "Oh, I did not expect this to be in the movie. I did not expect that. Y'all need to go watch this movie because it is because I think it would be even more of a masterpiece than it already is now."
And the thing is that the vampires still do stuff. The vampires still do stuff that is unexpected in a good way. There's a lot of stuff that you wouldn't expect vampires to do that you don't see vampires do in typical movie or TV shows or horror or whatever. They're very unique.
I will say this. I'm glad it wasn't like Nosferatu.
Oh yeah.
Because Nosferatu was very
it was crazy to say the least.
If you know, you know. Like
yeah, no, it definitely they definitely were wilding when that. I don't know who directed Nosferatu again.
I forgot. But it was the same dude,
guy who did the
Northman.
Yeah,
yep, and the Lighthouse. Yeah,
that Robert Eggers.
Robert Eggers. Yeah. So
we know about him. We know about you, nigga. But yeah, overall, I ain't really got too many complaints with this movie.
Me neither.
This movie was one of my most anticipated in I don't even know how long, and I really am glad to see that it's actually met the expectations that because for me personally, I was wondering if I was overhyping it because first of all, Michael B. Jordan is one of my favorite actors of all time.
Same.
Ryan Coogler has been one of my favorite directors for well over a decade, ever since Creed.
Top 5.
These two, in terms of like their history, speaks for itself, both critically and commercially. Mm-hmm. So I was on that front. I was just excited in general, but they took it to a level that even I felt was like, wow, like this is actually surprising how well they nailed this. Like I expected it to be good, but I didn't think it would be as good as it is, and I didn't think it would create the kind of cultural movement and moment it's having. So once again, these two doing their thing. I give them all the praise and all, you know, the props where it's earned, where it's due.
I dare I say Ryan, not to cut you off.
No, you good.
But dare I say Ryan Coogler could be a modern day Spike Lee.
Yeah, he could be.
He has the potential there. The potential is definitely there.
He's definitely inspired by him. He has to be.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I'd be seeing School Days all up and down his movies.
Exactly.
Same thing with Do the Right Thing.
Exactly. So, it's just great to see the legacy live on. I feel like these two are only going to continue to get better as time goes on. This may be their best collaboration.
Honestly,
it's in contention with Creed and Black Panther. It's definitely in contention with those.
But for it to be this, but for it to be as original as it is, before to be his first original movie, exactly. It definitely holds up. It's definitely in the same ring. You see what I did there? Creed. It goes toe to toe. Anyway, with Creed and Black Panther and them, so it's like, for my rating, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. It was high heat for me.
I'll say for me personally, and factoring in the theater experience, of course, because like I was talking to you off camera, this was like the first movie that I've seen in a while where it's a Friday night packed theater. The energy was up. It felt like a moment, and we don't really get experiences much like that with film nowadays. A lot of films these days feel like they come out and they just kind of come and go. Right. It's a lot of disposable media. Like I feel like a lot of times stuff doesn't stick with us like it used to. So this movie really gave me that old school feeling of like going to see a movie on a Friday night, packed theater, which is what I live for ultimately as a film fan. So me personally, I give it a 10 out of 10. For me personally, it's a 10.
All right, I respect
that.
that.
For me personally, it's a 10. There's not one aspect of this movie I didn't love.
Yes, sir. Well, with that being said, I've been Jay.
And this has been Rodney.
And we're at LATD. Remember, everybody, we got more reviews coming soon, more videos. Sir. Check out our rapid review on The Last of Us Season 2.
Oh, yeah, that's coming. We definitely got a review of the first, we're doing the first 3 episodes?
The first 3 episodes coming soon.
So, yeah, just hold off on that. But, I mean, for right now.
And remember, everybody, to look at the details. Peace.